So we have Regan here today with me, who is one of our Find Food Freedom members and also was a participant in our group coaching program. And Regan is going to be sharing her story today. I was going to say a little bit of her story, but no, you're going to be sharing a lot of it of your story of diving in of kind of how you found us here at Find Food Freedom and kind of what got you started and wanting to reach out. So first question I have for you, Regan, just diving right in before we get to some responses that you filled out right before you started our group coaching program. But how did you find us here at Find Food Freedom? And like, what really made you want to reach out and learn more? And what was like kind of the first step of kind of working with us that you took?
Yeah, I was deep into diet culture. I was in a very unhealthy wellness group. And I'd been a part of that group for many, many years. And one of the coaches that left that wellness group made a Facebook post that basically like went towards the intuitive eating route, but I didn't know what that term really meant yet. And when I messaged her privately asking her what her post meant and what she was alluding to, she directed me about intuitive eating, and she told me about the What the Actual Fork podcast. And so that is, as soon as that opened up my world, I was never a podcast listener. I had never even listened to one. So I went on to Apple Podcasts and I downloaded What the Actual Fork, and I started from episode 1, and I just got to know Sammy and Jenna so well. And just the first couple episodes about what diet culture does to us and all the things that I was feeling, I was like, oh, I feel all of these things. And I started crying, and I just knew I was exactly where I needed to be. And so I just really connected with Sammy and her message and what she was saying. And I just loved her voice. It was so calming, and it was exactly what I needed at that time in my life. And so on top of What the Actual Fork podcast and continuing to listen to that, I really dived into just the Find Food Freedom website and what it had to offer. And it was just a no-brainer for me.
Love to hear that. And I'm claiming you the podcast queen, because I swear you have told me you've listened to every episode of What the Actual Fork and the Find Food Freedom podcast.
Mm-hmm. And Body Image with Free. I am now caught up with all of those.
Yes, the Body Grievers podcast by Brianna Campos, which is an amazing resource. And it's also gives me chills I don't think I actually realized that you weren't a podcast person beforehand. And then once you found our podcast, it was like game over. Yeah. What do I need to know more, right? So
yeah.
And that first step, I guess, for you was group coaching and membership with our team. So you filled out this form back on February 14th, 2022. Mm-hmm. It is now June when we're recording this testimonial, 2022. So it's been a couple months. And you described your relationship with food before working with our team as unpleasant. And then you went on to describe it saying, I obsess over it. If it's in front of me, I want to eat it all. If it's not in front of me, I think about it being in front of me. It's on and off dieting. It has 100% control of my life right now. Good choices, bad choices. I'm so tired of putting so much energy into what I'm eating and thinking about what I'm eating. It's exhausting. Mm-hmm. That is what you wrote out before working with our team. Where would you say your relationship with food is now, and how has it changed throughout this process?
So many changes. The first thing that pops out at me is when I say, like, if it's in front of me, I want to eat it and I want to eat it all. And I am no longer in that space. I know with group, I've shared that I can have oatmeal cream pies, I can have ice cream, and it's sitting in my cupboard or my fridge or my freezer for sometimes days, sometimes weeks, without even thinking about it. And it's a constant ever evolvement of getting so much better. Like when I first started, yes, I was eating it all. And that's what prompted me to join group, because I still felt like, when does this ever stop? Like, when does it shut off? Like I felt like Kirby. I felt like if it was there, I was eating it, but it really does slow down. It slows down. And I can now have things in my cupboards that I just didn't imagine I could have in there, that I wouldn't be constantly shoveling it into my face. And I'm not anymore. And I just never, that is what always drove me to be on diets. And because I thought that I had an addiction to food, I thought I was addicted to it and I would not be able to control it unless I abstained from it. That I thought it had to be the all or nothing, and it does not have to be the all or nothing.
Yeah. And that all or nothing mentality is what causes us to feel out of control around food, right? And that's a huge part of one of the principles of intuitive eating, which is make peace with food, and rejecting the diet mentality, which is realizing that there can be no all or nothing thinking when it comes to food, right? Food has to be neutral, and you worked through that, which was awesome to see. What would you say was your biggest kind of, I don't want to say takeaway, but from being a member and in group, what is the thing that you have gotten the most out of from our membership and being a member?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Because there's a lot. I just think that knowing there's just a lot to offer. Like, I know that if I need the one-on-one, I can have the one-on-one. I know that there's programs that if I need it, like right now, like group did an amazing thing for me, and I feel pretty sustained right now. But if I am having a hard time, I know there's more. Between the course, the training course that I'm part of, between just the podcast alone, the free resources alone are great, but the added value of extra things that I know that I have that extra support in the Facebook groups that I'm part of. First of all, I know that I'm not alone. Like, people are posting and they're having the same thoughts and issues that I am, and I can hopefully help support them, and they can, help support me. And just getting to know a couple of the people on the Find Food Freedom team so much better. Like, I love Anna, and I love you because you're here. I got to know you a lot better in the group, and I got to know those ladies so well. And it's amazing to be there for each other. I think we need that support.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that and for your kind words. And I think huge point that you just made was, whether it's membership or group, we offer support on a wide variety of ranges, whether that's in a Facebook group or weekly. We want to make sure that we are supporting anybody that wants to find food freedom in whatever capacity that they need. So we try to cover all of those bases. One last thing I am going to read about from your form that you did fill out in February is, we kind of touched on your current relationship with food. You also filled out something related to your relationship with your body. So you wrote, my relationship with my body is currently unpleasant. There are, of course, things I wish looked better, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with my body overall. But my happiness with my body does depend on how close I am to my goal weight. And it is absolutely directed and correlated with food and food behaviors. So after hearing me read that, I know we've had many conversations about body image and how we're all going to have bad body image days. But after reading that, what are your thoughts, and where would you say your relationship with your body is now?
I forgot I wrote all that. It's hard to say, because I just remember being so close to my goal weight and feeling good in my body. Like, I was feeling good. But my mental state was not good. And I had so much moral value to what I was eating. And so much of my like success or my lack of, or my failure, you know, which diet culture loves to tell me that it's my fault. It really stemmed to everything I was eating. So, yes, I'm in a bigger body than I was in February. And I sometimes don't feel good about that, but I also know that I'm still on this journey. And there's tools that Find Food Freedom has given me to kind of deal with those bad image days. Listening to the podcast about body image, just surrounding myself with body positive things and staying away from the diet culture has helped a lot. That's helped a ton. And I know my journey is not done and it's ever evolving, but I can truly say I stopped, you know, I didn't start Find Food Free. I didn't start the intuitive eating. Like I didn't dive all in immediately because I was afraid of gaining weight. I see a lot of people post about this. They're afraid of the weight gain and they don't like the weight gain. And I totally understand that. And I even told myself, well, I just want to lose 10 more pounds before I go into intuitive eating. That way it gives me a little bit more wiggle room. But then there was a point where I was like, I said, I can't be in this mental space anymore, even for that 10 pounds. Like, how much more am I going to just continue, you know, killing myself to lose that 10 pounds before I start? So it really did just have to be a decision for me. And I made peace with the fact that I was going to gain weight on this journey before I really even gained peace with the food. So that kind of came first for me, was just having to accept that I don't know where my body's going to lie at the end of the day. Like, I don't know where it's going to end up. I don't know what its set point is. And I don't know what's going to happen on this journey, but I had to accept that I knew I was going to be in a bigger body, at least temporarily, until my body found its way. But I also knew that it was going to be a journey of me trusting my body and my body trusting me, because we have not had a relationship like that for almost 40 years. So, you know, I knew it was going to take time.
Yeah. That body trust piece is huge. And thank you so much for like sharing that. That was like your first kind of point of going on this journey, was recognizing like, and kind of accepting like, and giving trust, like almost like giving trust back to your body, of saying like, okay, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is I'm tired of this roller coaster. I'm tired of obsessing around my food, my weight, body, and I'm ready to just kind of release it. And I think that was really, hearing that, like a game changer for you of just diving into all the things. Cause that's hard. That's hard to give trust back to your body when for years, you shared 40 some years that you've told, like almost treated your body like it didn't know what it was doing. Right. So, which that is just, I have goosebumps and just chills from hearing you say that. So what would you also say was like your biggest aha moment for you throughout this journey?
I think my biggest was just the fact that diet culture is a $70 billion industry or something, that literally is and it's the only one that tells us as the consumer that we are failing the system, that it's not doing anything wrong, but we're the failures. And I think that was the biggest thing that was dragging me down, because I just felt like, even when I was eating all the things, but the things that diet culture was telling me to do, I was doing it, and I still felt like something was wrong. I still felt like a failure. I still felt like I wasn't good enough. And food should not ever make me feel like I'm not good enough as a person. Like, never, ever should food. There are so many other outside elements we have in this world that can make me feel like I'm not a good person. Food does not need to be one of them. And I was tired of paying money for someone to tell me that I was not a good person because I ate that cheeseburger, or because I made a choice that was, you know. So I think just that was the biggest. And the big, whatever the saying is, that it would never ever be like approved by the FDA or anything, because it doesn't last. Like even this company that I was part of that was just, if you just listen to us, we're so good. I was part of it for 5 years and I yo-yoed the same 50 pounds within that same company. And they told me I was the failure and they shamed me for it. And I just diet culture as a whole. And now being part of Find Food Freedom and just going through all the tools and trying to work on the principles and going to the trainings, I hear all the diet culture around me, and I can pick it up so quick now. I'm just like, I recognize that as diet culture and I don't need to listen to it. And I can walk away. And because of Find Food Freedom, I have tools that can tell me that I can set boundaries. I can walk away. I can not listen to it. I can surround myself with people so I can even actually be in front of the diet talk now. And it doesn't really affect me. It doesn't hurt my journey. It doesn't keep me, like, never once since I've dived into intuitive eating have I thought, well, if I just could join Weight Watchers again, or maybe I could try this wellness program again, or maybe I could just do this. Never once has that thought came, because I know that Find Food Freedom is the way.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And you are absolutely right. I can speak on behalf of that too. Of once you realize how harmful and how diet culture has impacted you, you can't unlearn that. And you almost have like an oh shit moment of this is the 70, I think it's up to $74 billion diet culture industry that we're up against. Like, this is what I've been like feeding my money to all these years under the guise of health and wellness. And it's eye-opening, and it's truly just one of those things that we work through with clients and group and membership, and recognize that it's so important to reject that diet mentality first, and you can't unlearn it. So we want to be that resource of when you do have that oh shit moment like you had, it's like, okay, I need support in this. Who can I go to? Right. So, and we're so glad that you did, and that you reached out, and you're part of our membership. You're like a graduate of group coaching. And why would you recommend Find Food Freedom to a friend, and why? It's the last question I have for you.
Yes, I recommend Find Food Freedom to everybody. Like anybody that I'm comfortable, that I feel like is ready to maybe jump off the diet train. But even then, like anybody that I say, I recommend what the actual Fork podcast to anyone who's willing to listen. I would absolutely because Find Food Freedom, like I'm part of a lot of Instagram pages and stuff that even Find Food Freedom recommends, and what the actual Fork podcast recommends. But just Sammy and the Find Food Freedom team, like they're just so real. Like I don't feel like it's filtered. I don't feel like it's selling. I don't feel like it's being like forced. It's very natural. You guys are just real and down to earth. And it's none of the BS of just trying to, and I think that's what the appeal is, you're not just trying to sell me stuff anymore at this point. Like you really are, like even just the free resources that you give, let me know that it's not about money for you. I mean, you're a business, so I'm sure it is a little bit, but that's natural. But still, like all the free podcasts and TikToks and things like that are all so educational. I probably could have done this journey just on that stuff alone, but I just know that my brain needed a little bit more support. It needed a little bit more of, and I loved the idea of the group coaching, because then other people were on this journey with me and we can all kind of bounce things back from each other. So yes, I would absolutely recommend all things Find Food Freedom to anyone who I can get to listen. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends are still in diet culture, so it's a battle. It's an uphill battle, but
it's a battle, and one that you do not have to fight, because it is not your job to convince somebody to diet, right?
Yes. Absolutely. If they are ready to listen, I am there. So
Yes. Well, Regan, thank you so much for just taking up a little bit of your time to chat with me today. And I know that your story and how far you've come on your journey is going to reach so many people. And I just want to thank you for being a part of our community and a resource for people in our community as well on all of the Facebook pages. And I'm so thankful that we were able to chat today and you were able to share part of your story.
Yay. Well, thank you for you guys having all of these resources available to us. Like without it, I'd probably still be floundering. So I appreciate Find Food Freedom for sure. And I appreciate you. I'm in the group.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Regan. I'm truly, if you guys could see my face, I'm blushing very hard right now. So thank you so much, Regan. And thanks.